The disappearance that still has no answers. It's been 17 years. 17 years since Emily Carter walked out of her apartment in a small city in Oregon and was never seen again. 17 years since her family last heard her voice. 17 years of birthdays, holidays, and family gatherings with an empty chair and a question that never goes away. What happened to Emily? She was 24 years old. She had a steady job, a small circle of friends, and plans for the future. She wasn't the type to just disappear. She didn't have money problems. She wasn't in any kind of trouble. She had no reason to walk away from her life. Yet that's exactly what it looks like she did. Her car was found parked a few blocks from her apartment. Her purse was inside. Her phone was on the passenger seat. There were no signs of a struggle. No blood. No obvious clues. It was as if she had simply parked her car and walked away. Police investigated. They talked to her friends, her coworkers, and her family. They followed leads that went nowhere. Search teams looked for her. Missing person posters went up. But as months turned into years, the case slowly faded from the news. Other cases came in. Resources moved on. Emily Carter became just another name on a long list of people who vanished without a trace. Her family never stopped hoping. They never stopped asking questions. But after 17 years, they still have no answers. No body. No suspect. No clear explanation for why a young woman with a normal life would simply disappear one evening and never be seen again. This isn't a story with a neat ending. This isn't a case that was solved with one piece of new evidence or a dramatic confession. This is a story about a disappearance that still has no answers, and about the family that continues to live with that painful reality every single day. Today on Shadow Files, we're going to walk through the disappearance of Emily Carter. We're going to look at why her case went cold so quickly. Why investigators have struggled to find answers. And what it's like to live with a mystery that refuses to be solved. Disclaimer. Before we continue, I want to be clear. We tell these stories with respect for the victims and their families. We focus on the facts and the investigation process. We will not sensationalize or dramatize violence. These are real people, and we treat their stories with the seriousness they deserve. Emily Carter was 24 years old in the spring of 2007. She lived in a small two-bedroom apartment in Eugene, Oregon. She worked as a graphic designer for a local marketing company and had been there for about 2 years. She was close with her family, especially her younger sister, Rachel, who was 19 at the time. Emily was known as a responsible, kind, and somewhat introverted person. She didn't go out much at night and preferred quiet evenings at home or spending time with close friends. On the evening of March 22, 2007, Emily finished her shift at work around 5:30 p.m. She stopped at a grocery store on her way home and bought a few things for dinner. She was seen by the cashier and by a neighbor who waved to her as she pulled into her apartment complex. Everything seemed completely normal. Around 7 p.m., Emily spoke briefly on the phone with her sister, Rachel. She mentioned that she was tired from work and was planning to make dinner and watch a movie. That was the last confirmed conversation anyone had with her. When Emily didn't show up for work the next morning, her coworkers tried calling her apartment. No answer. By mid-morning, her manager called her emergency contact, her mother, who then drove over to check on her. When she arrived, she noticed Emily's car was parked in its usual spot. She knocked on the door. No answer. She tried the handle and found it unlocked. She went inside and called out for Emily. There was no response. The apartment looked normal. Emily's purse was on the kitchen counter. Her keys were there too. Her bed was unmade from that morning. It looked like she had simply gone to work the day before and never come home. Emily's mother immediately called the police. Officers arrived and took a missing person report. Because Emily was 24 years old and legally an adult, and because there were no immediate signs of foul play, The initial response was limited. Police checked local hospitals and jails. They put out a description of Emily to other departments. But without evidence of a crime, there wasn't much more they could do that first day. The next day, Emily's car was found parked on a quiet street a few blocks from her apartment. The doors were unlocked. Her purse was on the passenger seat. Her phone was on the floor. There were no obvious signs of a struggle inside the vehicle. No damage. No blood. It looked like she had simply parked the car and walked away. This changed everything. Police now treated the case as a missing person investigation with possible foul play. They brought in search dogs and searched the area around where the car was found. They re-interviewed everyone who had seen Emily in the days leading up to her disappearance. They looked into her phone records and bank activity. There was no activity on her phone or bank account after the evening she was last seen. One person who came up during the investigation was a coworker who had asked Emily out a few times. She had turned him down politely. But he had seemed upset about it. When police questioned him, he claimed he had been at home with his roommate the night she disappeared. His roommate confirmed the alibi. As weeks turned into months, the investigation continued but didn't produce any solid leads. There were no sightings of Emily after she left her apartment that evening. No activity on her phone or bank account. No witnesses came forward with new information. The case slowly lost momentum. Other missing person cases came in, and resources had to be redirected. By the end of 2008, Emily Carter's disappearance had gone cold. For her family, the pain was almost unbearable. Every day without answers felt like torture. Her parents kept her bedroom exactly the way it was. They still set a place for her at the dinner table on holidays. Her younger sister, Rachel, grew up with the constant weight of not knowing what happened to her big sister. Every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering had an empty space where Emily should have been. 17 years is a long time to live without answers. Emily's family never stopped hoping. They kept her case in the news whenever they could. They worked with missing person organizations. They refused to believe that their daughter and sister had simply run away. They knew her. They knew she wouldn't have left without saying goodbye. Something had happened to her. And they were determined to find out what. Over the years, different detectives have reviewed Emily's file. Some have followed new leads that ultimately went nowhere. Others have re-interviewed witnesses or looked at the evidence with fresh eyes. But nothing has ever led to a breakthrough. There has never been a credible sighting. There has never been any activity on her phone or bank accounts. There has never been a body or any physical evidence that could point investigators in the right direction. The case remains one of the most frustrating and heartbreaking in the department's history. Investigators have considered every possible theory: that Emily was the victim of a random crime, that she met with foul play from someone she knew, that she had some kind of mental health crisis, but none of them have led to answers. For Emily's family, the lack of closure is a constant weight they carry every day. Her mother has said in interviews that the hardest part isn't even the not knowing anymore. It's the not knowing combined with the feeling that the world has moved on without her daughter. People stopped asking about Emily years ago. But for her family, every single day still starts and ends with the same question: what happened to her? Detectives who have worked on the case over the years have said that Emily's disappearance is one of those cases that stays with you. There are no clear leads. There are no obvious suspects. There is no physical evidence that points in any particular direction. It is, in many ways, a perfect mystery, and that makes it one of the hardest kinds of cases to solve. As of 2026, Emily Carter's disappearance remains unsolved. Her case is still open. Investigators continue to review it from time to time, and her family continues to hope that one day, someone will come forward with the information that finally brings her home. But for now, the answers remain out of reach. 17 years later, Emily Carter is still missing. and her family is still waiting. Thank you for watching this episode of Shadow Files. These kinds of cases remind us that not every story has an ending. Some mysteries remain unsolved, and some families are left to live with questions that may never be answered. If this story moved you, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps more than you know. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, as long as you keep them respectful. We'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.